It takes a while for it to crank in, you know. But then a little bit will show that some people might check in. Good morning. It's funny when I put up the recording afterwards on YouTube, sometimes the sound starts later. There's somebody looking already. Good morning. I don't think it rained yesterday, so we can count on it being relatively dry here. Very calm this morning. And I'm being, what's the word? I'm being stalked. I'm being stalked by 3 people from Kansas. And there are 4th and 5th people missing. So these are our Kansas friends, and we have lots of friends in Kansas who watch who participate in the Stroll and Chat, and they always send their reps here, you know, their personal reps, their ambassadors. So this family here, it's parents and their son-in-law, and their daughter isn't out this morning because she's expecting again. And so we pray for her and her family. And I'm bringing them out here in this place just to go a little bit different this morning. We went further yesterday than we'll go today, but that's okay. And we have big, exciting readings today. We're up in Capernaum again, I think, and Jesus heals Peter's mother-in-law. And here we have a mother-in-law, actually, because we have a son-in-law, so that means the other lady is a mother-in-law. You want to wave for as a mother-in-law, representative of all mothers-in-law. And so let's get over here. And actually, this little bush that's here in the water, that's sticking up out of the water. Oh, look at this bird here. I didn't realize she had so much black in her. What kind of bird is that? A big red beak. You know, I'm not familiar with this one. That's interesting.
Tiberius goose.
Well, we have Egyptian geese here, and they have 3 little chicks. I saw them yesterday, but I wasn't on the camera at the time. So right across behind that little bush that's out there, or even behind this bird, is Capernaum on the other shore, right in a straight line. And so down from the Mount of Beatitudes, about a kilometer, almost a mile or so. And this is where Peter's mother-in-law was sick when Jesus showed up at Peter's house. And he cured her. So there's a miracle. And let's go to the text itself, because that'll get us really in focus. Just watching my feet and opening the phone and holding the camera. So, there we are. This is the Franciscans' house here. Let's show the people so they know what we're talking about. And then this is the Franciscan site of Magdala, which they own for over 130 years. And they have found wonderful archaeology. There's a Greek gymnasium in here in this area where the little dog is coming up, and she just had puppies. She just had her puppies. So we're getting back to Capernaum. On leaving the synagogue, Jesus entered the house of Simon and Andrew and James and John, with James and John. Simon's mother-in-law lay sick with a fever. They immediately told him about her. He approached, grasped her hand, and helped her up. Then the fever left her, and she waited on them. Fever is an ugly thing, isn't it?
It is.
very debilitating. And now she has the strength to serve. That's why we have strength. We have strength to serve. Some people see their strengths just for enjoyment, but actually strengths are for serving. And that's where we're happy, because when things aren't doing the right thing they're supposed to be doing, then they're not happy. And when things are doing the right thing they're supposed to be doing, then they're fulfilled. And when we use our strengths to serve, we're being fulfilled. So that's why it's very important to have a good plan. Even when you retire, are you guys near retirement? Not yet.
Yes.
Yes.
So when people who retire, you know, they sometimes go into a plan of self-indulgence. And the work schedule was very tough, demanding, tiring, especially towards the end of one's work time in life, and one is longing for retirement. But then the way to use those strengths in a constructive way, in a different way, you know, not in the laborious drudgery of sometimes the way work is, but also in the in service in other ways, through counsel, through support, through helping in moments of need, to see our strengths. And we have different strengths. We have great physical strength when we're young, but then we have other strengths of wisdom and experience as we get older, and to use those strengths for service. Strengths are for service. And that's the way we see the charisms in the church as well. The charisms aren't really given for the person themselves, they're given for the service of the community to a concrete person. Strengths are for service. Look at this grass, it's like almost like the fields of Ireland or Kansas. You have grassy fields in Kansas, right? When it was evening after sunset, they brought to him all who were ill or possessed or demons. So Jesus has a full day. You know, he's in the grit of the needs of the people. He's like those people on front lines, people in emergency rooms, people in the fire brigade, you know, and that's people that are out there serving needs all the time. And it's a full day and a tiring day. The whole town was gathered at the door. He cured many who were sick with various diseases, and he drove out many demons, not permitting them to speak because they knew him. Rising very early before dawn, he left and went off to a deserted place. You know, plenty of deserted places up there behind Capernaum, often hiked up around that area. Little gullies and valleys. And Simon and those who were with him pursued him. And on finding him, everyone is looking for you. That's a great line. Looking. Looking for treasure. Looking for people. Looking for friends. Looking for the lost sheep. Everyone's looking for you. An attitude in life. And Jesus says, well, let's move on. We're not just for Capernaum, we're for many other towns. We're even for Kansas. How many towns are in Kansas?
No idea. Thousands.
Thousands of towns. Yeah, are you from the Wichita area?
Yes.
And what are the other big towns in Kansas? Topeka,
Kansas City.
Hutchinson, Dodge City.
Dodge City, Kansas City,
Derby.
Derby. So, you know, this is the search, going for Jesus, going to find him, going to look for him. What a way to live. Do you notice what you're not standing on sand? These are all shells. Have you noticed?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? And if you come down here, you can see them more clearly when they're wet. The same thing with our mosaic, our outdoor mosaic there. It's much more, you appreciate the colours much more when you get down really close. The people like to see them up close. There are so many shapes and sizes and shades and colours and forms. And the bounty of creation is everywhere. It's really amazing. Look at that. We made it without the phone going topsy-turvy. Sometimes it jumps around and does some major dance here on the gimbal. But there's another part to all these readings today, and that's the letter to the Hebrews. So we had this experience of Jesus going into somebody's home. And that's also a nice thought, that somebody like Jesus would go into somebody's home and spend time with them and hear their needs and help. Many people do that. They go and they prepare a meal for somebody who is sick. They go and just visit, spend time together. That great value of human relationship, of neighborhood, neighborliness, of helping out, of listening to aches and pains and stories and sadnesses, but also sharing joys and delights. There's a new baby on the way, you know, or somebody is sick, somebody is hurting, somebody's in need. It's a way to live. But now let's go from that experience that they had on that particular evening in Capernaum, and let's read the letter to the Hebrews. And here we see a much more developed reflection. Since the children share in blood and flesh, Jesus likewise shared in them, that through death he might destroy the one who has the power of death, and free those who through fear of death had been subject to slavery all their life. This is a very powerful synthesis of the mystery of salvation here. He had to become like his brothers and sisters in every way, that he might be a merciful and faithful high priest before God. Because he himself was tested through what he suffered, he is able to help those who are being tested. Who's not being tested? Who's not going through some deprivation, some frustration, some difficulty? And you know, the Greek gods, they were a projection of human feelings and so on. Who would ever have imagined that God would become flesh, would take humanity so serious, human beings, us, so seriously, that he would become flesh and share our lives? Because he was tested, he understands how we are tested. It's not that God didn't understand it before, but we have that feeling of association and solidarity really close to us, lapping our lives, those waves of love from the divine heart, that eternal love that created us, hasn't abandoned us, is so close to us. Let's leave it like that for today, people. Wishing you every blessing. And we'll do our little famous selfie moment here at the end here. with our Kansas visitors. And we're praying for the baby on the way and the siblings back home. God bless you. See you later, alligators.